Hare Krishna, Gauranga. This time around I'm saying continuing on with the next shloka, because I kind of see this 1855 as being almost like the second part of 1854, because when the Lord says you become transcendently situated and then you start performing devotional service, then this next verse is saying only by devotional service can you understand me. So it's it just steps straight on into it, So this is another 30 key verse class. I only have 3 left, including this one. So it's been a wonderful few months of churning these classes out and getting into them. Let's see how this last couple go, but this one is particularly nice. And again, it's quite a one where Prabhupada is really direct in the purport, but we'll see if we can say a few words. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad-Gita chapter 18, text 55. Bhaktya mam abhajarati yavanyas chasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vesate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation, nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. So that first point, very clear there. There's a division between the devotees and the non-devotees when it comes to understanding transcendental knowledge. In the chapter 4 of the Bhagavad-Gita, it speaks about that, that this transcendental knowledge will deliver you from all difficulties in life. But that transcendental knowledge is available only to those who are actually seeking for Krishna directly and who are worshipping Krishna directly. Knowledge will be there, some form of happiness will be there, some other parts of different pious activities will be there, but real transcendental knowledge and real spiritual bliss only comes from the devotees. So to understand Krishna in full only is something available to those who are surrendering to Krishna in the proper way. And of course, pure devotional service under the guidance of the Guru, pure devotee. So it's all coming to the final conclusion nicely here in this last chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality, okay. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. So it's blocked, to the non-devotee. And the example is given that you want to eat the honey, but all you're going to do is you'll be licking the outside of the jar and you'll be thinking, I can somehow imagine what that honey tastes like. But the devotees are able to open the lid and taste the honey and relish it, Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham prakasha sarvasya. He is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. Nice obvious point made by Srila Prabhupada. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there, and as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, and the process of devotional service. So, of course, with the impersonal aspect, that's where it stopped. We discussed that previously. That you come to some platform of happiness, or you accept that there's some higher power in the universe, or you've now felt some realization from your philosophical understandings, and then, okay, that's enough for me now. I'm happy to be at that level. But the devotee wants to go deeper. He wants to get more out of it. So by that he wants to serve, because the service in itself is blissful. And at first, and we heard this this is pretty much a direct quote from one of Prabhupada's purports in the previous 30 key verses, that at first the neophyte devotee relishes the service, the feeling of bliss and happiness from the service itself, but later on at the higher levels, he relishes the bliss of association with the Lord himself. So that's a big difference. Bliss from the happiness of performing Sankirtan, japa, connecting to the Lord through that thing, through or book distribution, whatever it is. But then when you're actually connecting to the Lord himself directly, that's even more sweet. And that's for the pure devotees. That's their platform. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there, the same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishati enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No, Vishati means that one can enter into the birth of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. So in the spiritual world we have an eternal relationship that's unique, and all the millions and millions of souls that are there in the spiritual world have a unique individual relationship with Krishna. Now that's inconceivable pretty much, but that is the nature of the Supreme. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. This is what we would say when I step into my house. I don't become one with the house, I just enter into different rooms and have a relationship with whatever's in there, when you throw a stone into a river, it just sinks to the bottom and it falls in among other stones, but it's still a separate stone. It's not now merged in amongst all the other stones. It's lying there, among the stones, but it's not now merged in as part of the lake. It just falls into the water, and the water touches it and is involved with it. There's a relationship there somehow or another, but it's not merged and becoming one with, in that sense. Impersonalists give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality, like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. This is one of the reasons why we say scientifically that the Earth is 75% covered in water. And we haven't even seen remotely most of the oceans, although we know that there's the Mariana Trench, is the deepest part of the world, and so on and so forth. And we've sent down, what is it? I think it's Marine 5 or something, or whatever that, boat is, that submarine that they've got that was able to go down there and explore, that exploring craft, but that's only one small stretch, There's so much uncharted area in the ocean. So there's the point. You look at the ocean or you look at a river and you say, oh, yeah, that's it, I now know the river. No, you only saw the top. You saw the waves or you saw the colour of the water. You never went in and saw all the structure underneath. Even, obviously I'm from Scotland, and these lakes, some of these lakes are some of the deepest in the world, And to explore them, you can use echolocation, you can use these different techniques, but no one's actually swum around the whole entire thing because it's vast, it's too vast, too dark, too big, So it's the same thing. Krishna consciousness in this whole concept is supremely vast, So we focus more on the transcendental nature of the Lord and connecting to Him than worrying about getting caught up in the rest of the aspects. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand. The same is confirmed here. So this is the conclusion of the perfection of renunciation is the name of the chapter. Now Krishna is wrapping every single point off from the whole Bhagavad-Gita. The same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Person of Godhead by devotional service and enter into His kingdom. We heard about this, of course, Natad Basyati Suryo Nashashanka Napavakaha, right? About this beautiful Supreme Dham, This is, how we can enter into it by devotional service. And this is what we do when we're in there, devotional service. After attainment of the Brahma Bhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops, and material contamination, greediness and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. So here's an interesting point that Prabhupada said. What is material contamination? Greediness and lust for sense enjoyment. So if you have those two things, consider yourself to be materially conditioned or contaminated. So to that degree that those are gone, then we can say that we're on the transcendental platform. Then we can say we're performing devotional service. So we can use this as a good measurement of how we're advancing. Because a lot of these concepts, we think, one of the beginning things in a devotee's life is to understand that we're not the body, we're the soul, which means we're the eternal servant of Krishna. Now in many ways that's just the beginning thing, but it's hammered and hammered and hammered right through the Bhagavad-Gita before you even start reading the Bhagavatam. Why? Because as simple as it is, it's not actually that simple. And there's even so many devotees, I'll be bold enough to say, are still, haven't actually really come to that realization. Hence the reason why we do a lot of the things that we probably do in our movement, Prabhupada said, if I just have a handful of pure devotees, I can take over the world. And in many ways, Krishna consciousness has exposed all over the place, but there's so much more we could be doing, because we need those potent, fully convinced devotees that really, truly get what this philosophy is. And I'm not saying that I'm one of them, I'm just saying that that's the statement of the pure devotee. To be actually off that bodily platform and to truly understand that we are the eternal servant of Krishna is an incredible stage. And of course, to be on the platform of performing devotional service to the Lord is again a highly elevated state, and that's just the beginning. Right? Ramananda Roy, when he was speaking with Lord Chaitanya, one of the first things he said, Sarva Dharma Parijya Jamami Kamsanam Vraja, abandon all righteous religion and surrender unto me. That's the first thing that he said to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya says, that's nice, but that's external. But that's the culmination of the Bhagavad-Gita. We'll hear about this shloka. That's the culmination of everything. The Bhagavad-Gita, after everything you've been through, takes you to the concept of surrender. And then you start performing devotional service. Then you enter into all the pastimes of the Lord, and you hear about all the trips and falls of all the other personalities that we have to avoid, So there's so much more. There's so way above all these understandings, just becoming transcendently situated, As lust and desires disappear from the heart of the devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord, and by such attachment he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, after liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra 4.1.12 confirms this. Aprayanat tatrapi hidrishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional liberation is defined as the reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. So I mentioned this morning in the class, I said about Jivan Mukta as being an eternally liberated soul, even here in the material world. Because once you've connected to Krishna, once you've realized your eternal nature, it doesn't matter whether you're in the hellish planetary systems, whether you're in the spiritual world, whether you're here taking part in Krishna's pastimes, or you're just serving in the ISKCON movement, doing Sankirtan, or doing Pujari services, or looking after your kids and your family, and bringing them up as devotees. You are connected to Krishna, and that is your eternal position. A devotee no longer cares for where, how, what, and why I'm doing it, because he's fully under the guidance of the Lord, and under the shelter of the Lord. Everything is taken care of. That's liberation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, because the concept of position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from the misconceptions of life. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.